So, in talking about this first problematic aspect of this show, we need to talk about a problematic aspect of the original novel series. Now, I loved Harry Potter growing up. It was my all-time favorite book series. It came out as I was growing up, and it became a very important part of my childhood. And I still love the Harry Potter series, even though J.K. Rowling has revealed herself to be the turf asshole that she is. Someone who apparently doesn't even understand the message of her own books. You know, how love and acceptance is the most important thing in the world. Guess that kind of flew right over her head as she was writing it. However, when really looking at the series, there are certain things in it that are problematic. And I think one of the biggest ones, one of the ones that are the most obvious now, is the topic of today's video. And you'll know what it is because it'll be in the title, but it is the character of Cho Chang. Because let's go ahead and be honest with ourselves here. There is, as far as I can remember, it's been a while since I've read the series, but I believe there is one character that is explicitly referred to as Asian. And J.K. Rowling had the bright idea of calling that character Cho Chang. I mean, seriously, that name sounds like a name that Seth MacFarlane would come up with for, like, a Family Guy cutaway gag that is designed to be offensive. And so the question comes in, if you are going to create a parody musical or any sort of parody about the Harry Potter series, and you are going to include this character, how do you address it? Because if you're going to include the character of Cho Chang, you should in some way address the fact that this name is incredibly problematic. And the way that Starkid did it back in the day is they made Cho Chang into a Southern belle. And honestly, I find this pretty funny. I love the fact that you're expecting one thing because of this very stereotypical name, and she is incredibly not that. However, I do think that in an attempt to address this, Starkid leaned a little too heavily into the stereotype. Especially when it comes to the music that plays.
Someone's coming!
Cho Chang, domo arigato, Cho Chang. Don't hate that Cho Chang. Happy, happy New Year, Cho Chang.
I think it's great that the people who wrote this show did attempt to address this problematic name. And I think when you consider the fact that, again, this was written by college students over 10 years ago, I think they did a pretty good job with it. But it still wasn't the best way to address it. I do think that they leaned a little too much into the stereotype, and I acknowledge that that's the joke, but it is possible to take a joke just a little too far. And I think this whole topic does lead to an interesting question, and it's one that I, referenced earlier. It's the question of how do you address this if you're going to talk about Harry Potter? If you're going to create a parody of Harry Potter, what do you do with this? And honestly, I don't have an answer to that question. I think it's a pretty complex question and not one with an easy answer, and I would actually like to turn that question on to all of you. How would you go about addressing this problematic aspect of it? Would you lean into it like Starkid did, but less so? Would you do anything else? Just what are your thoughts on this matter? Because I am genuinely curious. So with that is the first problematic discussion of Starkid. A full disclosure, I haven't watched the entire musical yet. I knew that I could talk about this first number before Thanksgiving because that's all it is. It opens with this opening number, and they have the entire opening number on the original soundtrack. So I knew that I could talk about this first opening number without actually watching the musical, but I want to watch the musical before I talk about anything else, so I'm hoping to be able to do that sometime before the end of this week so that I can continue talking about these musicals. But until I'm able to do that, we'll see what happens, and I will see all of you whenever I see you again.